Hey everybody, welcome to another Flash recap and review. Today I'm talking about Season 6, Episode 15, entitled The Exorcism of Nash Wells. If you haven't seen this episode, pause this video, open a new tab, and go to cwtv.com to watch the episode. Then come back here because I am talking full spoilers. This was another really eventful episode, just like last week. We see both a progression of the Mirror Iris story and its foolishness, and we also see sort of a conclusion of sorts to this whole Nash Wells thing. So let's get right into it. The episode starts off with us seeing what happened to Camilla after the end of last episode. Now there are two mirror clones, Iris and Camilla. Ava McCulloch is sending Mirror Iris and Mirror Camilla on this mission to get a prismatic refractor, which was sold by Joseph Carver, but now she wants it back. She gives them a decoy to use to replace it when they steal it, whatever. So they're sent on this mission. But it turns out they're not the only people looking for this device. Black Hole is also looking for it, and they've sent their new assassin, well, not new, but like new to us, the new assassin Sunshine, who also uses light powers. So there are like two different groups going after this device. Back in Star Labs, Caitlin and Cisco have developed a device to help Barry monitor his speed because the Speed Force is gone, so now he has to be very conservative with how much of his speed they're using or he's using. The watch changes different colors depending on how fast he's going. So green is safe zone, yellow is kind of dangerous, and red is like absolutely can't be going that fast. So he has this device, and now he has to learn to sit in the sidelines a little bit more and let his friends handle certain situations because the Flash can't always be there. But of course, it's Barry, and he's stubborn, so he's not going to sit still all the time, which is something that hasn't changed much with Barry. I mean, it's gotten better over time, but after a while, it does kind of get annoying. So Camilla and Iris, Mirror Camilla, Mirror Iris, go to the place to try and steal the device, and then they see Sunshine's already there. They set a trap, sort of, where they call the Flash to come help them with the assassin or take the assassin out so that they can get the device. But Caitlin tells Barry, no, you gotta stay, I'll take care of this. And she goes, but Barry tries to stay in the silence, but as things start to go crazy, he decides to try and run in there, and of course, he makes the situation worse, and Caitlin/Frost ends up getting hurt. CCPD ends up being in possession of the device. Singh is back now, and he's helping Joe with his case of figuring out Black Hole and this big conspiracy. They are about to hand off the device to Argus, but then Sunshine shows up, but they lay a trap for her, which at first makes sense because logically, if there's no sunlight, then her powers don't work. But I wish there was like at least one scene or one sentence where somebody had mentioned, okay, that's how we're going to get her. Basically, they set a trap for Sunshine where she follows Barry into his lab when he takes the device. They close all the windows, they close the little window at the top of the ceiling, and there's no light in the room, therefore her powers don't work. And everybody comes in with night vision goggles and captures her. I'm kind of happy that this story did not have that much time because honestly, I didn't care too much for the Sunshine character, and I don't think it was really adding that much to the story. So I'm happy that it did wrap up really early in the episode, which gave us more time to focus on Mirror Iris and the Nash Wells story. So back to Nash Wells. Nash Wells is currently being possessed or controlled by Eobard Thawne. While he's being held captive, Caitlin looks at his brainwaves and sees that there's actually multiple brainwaves in there. Basically, what happened was that after Crisis, after the creation of Earth Prime, where everything collapsed together into one, all of these versions of Harrison Wells from the multiverse are now stuffed into one brain. And Eobard Thawne is included. Eobard Thawne is now trying to take over and take full control of Nash Wells' body so he can become the Reverse Flash again and wreak havoc and, of course, kill everybody. There's this really cool moment where he tricks them, where Eobard Thawne tricks them. He makes them believe he's Nash Wells and tricks them into doing this thing with his gauntlet and his device, and it causes this big flash of light, and he escapes, and Barry's like, that wasn't Nash Wells, that was Thawne. Thawne almost gets away in the time sphere thing, but Barry manages to stop him, but he uses his speed, and you can see that Wells, of course, or Thawne knows how to get under Barry's skin, and as he does that, Barry's starting to use his speed more as he gets more aggravated, which is very dangerous. Caitlin and Cisco manage to stop Barry from using his speed hand to kill Thawne by sedating him, and they realize that Barry just cannot be in this situation because no matter what, Thawne knows how to get under his skin, and as he gets more aggravated, he wants to use his speed more, or he'd be forced to go faster if he has to fight Thawne. So they decide that Barry should just stay away and let them handle it. After Caitlin is injured, Cisco and Cecile are now trying to save Nash Wells, and it turns out Cecile can feel all of the rage and hate coming from Thawne, and she can tell that he's being taken over slowly, and he's forcing Nash Wells to relive some kind of memory that is causing him to be sad and vulnerable and fearful. So they have to try and find a way to get into his mind. Cisco tries to use the device to try and slow down Thawne with, like, I think it was positive tachyons, but that doesn't work. So they all have to go into Nash Wells' mind using the device from when the Thinker attacked them back in season 4. So Barry and Cisco go into Nash Wells' mind using Cecile's powers, and I just really loved this part of the episode. First of all, we finally figure out what happened with Allegra's doppelganger, who we learned her name is Maya. It turns out Nash Wells had taken her under his wing as kind of an adopted daughter / sidekick on his adventures. They were at this one location where they were kind of hanging off to the side of a cliff, and Maya was there trying to get this device. She detached herself from the safety rope to try and get it, but then as they take the device, some booby trap happened, caused some shaking or whatever, and she fell off the cliff and died. So what we really see in this episode is that Nash Wells is still blaming him, or doesn't want to take, he actually doesn't want to take responsibility for that happening. He keeps saying it was her mistake, but eventually he does come to terms with it and realizes that, yeah, he did play a part in that, and he blames himself, but the whole thing was about him kind of accepting it. And I have to say, Tom Cavanaugh absolutely destroyed this episode. I mean, this is one of his best performances I've seen in the series so far. Not only was he playing the very menacing Eobard Thawne, but also he was playing this very hurt and scared version of Nash Wells, where he was just so traumatized by this moment in his life where he lost his kid, and then also explains why he was so attached to Allegra. But in both roles, Tom Cavanaugh absolutely killed it. While Nash Wells was dealing with his past, Barry was going face to face with Thawne. Thawne was trying to really get under his skin, mentioned Nora, mentioned his mom. Like, he knows exactly what to say to make Barry mad. But of course, Barry overcomes it. He keeps Eobard Thawne distracted long enough for Nash Wells to relive his past, go through his door. That would help him regain control of his body. Because at this point, Thawne was taking over. The negative speed force was in his body. So it was a matter of time before he basically got full control over the body and became the Reverse Flash again. But they managed to beat him in time. There's this really cool moment where we see all this lightning shooting out of Nash Wells' body, as I guess that's like the negative speed force leaving him. And we find out that Thawne is not dead necessarily. He's just out in the universe. Like, his essence is still out there. He has to find someone else to possess in order for him to come back. So he's not completely gone, but it's going to be a while probably before we see him again. Not only was the Nash Wells stuff great, but I also think it was really nice to see Cisco actually caring for Nash Wells and trying to save him. This was really great development for Cisco and Nash Wells' relationship. He talked about how there's always been a new version of Harrison Wells, and they don't necessarily always get along at first, but ultimately they do become friends, minus Eobard Thawne, obviously. But you can see that there's definitely hope for their relationship, and maybe Nash Wells is going to stick around. I mean, he has to, basically. He's the only Wells now, but I thought that was a really nice moment between the two of them. All right, now let's talk about Mirror Iris. This story is just really frustrating at this point, because in this episode, there are so many moments where she obviously was not acting like normal Iris, and nobody really batted an eye. Like, especially with Barry. She's acting really weird with Barry now. She's doing a really terrible job of acting like his loving wife. There's so many moments where Joe literally has to tell her, go check on your husband, go see if your husband's okay. And she's like, oh yeah, all right, yeah, I'll do it. I'm just like, are you serious? Of course, Joe is suspicious now because of what Wally said. But the fact that he hasn't said anything to anybody else, he's like letting her just get away with this. I'm just so frustrated because there was so much great development for Black Hole and the Citizen, and it just went all out the window with this Mirror Iris thing, and they're really dragging it on. Now, I would not blame Iris if she wanted to divorce Barry after this, because it is a shame that it's taken him this long to notice that that is not his wife. When he was under the control of Bloodwork, Iris knew immediately that he was not himself, that it was not Barry, like literally seconds after she saw him after that whole ordeal. But here it's taking Barry literally weeks to notice anything. He still hasn't. He was a little suspicious at the beginning, but not enough to really do anything about it, which is absolutely crazy. So I really, really hope that this is resolved soon and we can get back to all the Black Hole stuff, because now Black Hole has just become an afterthought, and I thought they were going to be the big bad of the season, which I guess they technically are, but really haven't heard much about them besides Sunshine in this episode, so that's really crazy. Maybe now that Camilla is also a mirror clone, maybe Cisco will notice something's off now, because if Barry can't figure it out, maybe Cisco can. But again, I really just hope this is all wrapped up very soon, that this is not for the rest of the season, because again, this is getting very frustrating. But overall, I would say I really enjoyed this episode, minus the Mirror Iris stuff. Everything with Nash Wells and Eobard Thawne was done really well. I really sympathize with Nash Wells. I totally understand where he's coming from now. And the stuff with Allegra's doppelganger, Maya, was also done really well. Barry also goes on an interesting journey in this episode. Again, he's still very stubborn, but you can see he has to kind of sit back now, because until they figure out this new Speed Force, building this new Speed Force, he's kind of have to lay back or lay low a little while. Speaking of which, now they also are going to use Nora's old journal to try and figure out how Thawne created his own Speed Force. So that's also going to be interesting. So what did you think of this episode of The Flash? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Let me know down in the comments. Also, don't forget to like this video, share it, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next one.